What's up, everybody? Matt Parrino here for NYUp at Syracuse.com. One Bills Drive. We're wrapped for OTAs. It's in the books here for 2019. We're on our way to mini camp next week. We've learned a lot over the course of the last 3 weeks. Open practices here in Buffalo. Obviously, excitement abounded last week when Josh Allen set the world on fire in practice, and we moved to this week, and it's a completely different story. It's a practice that it's interesting. We were out there practice today, and it was a real slow moving practice. It was one that, I thought that they were working on a lot of individual stuff. It was kind of a slow moving practice. There were some penalties early on as they were working on some stuff, and I think that kind of slowed down practice as well. And Josh Allen, you could see, never really got into a comfort zone, and he, by all accounts, had a pretty bad practice. It's going to happen. You go from one high of last week to a low of this week. He struggled with his ball placement. I thought that he overthrew Robert Foster on one pretty bad towards the right sideline, and then threw an interception on an underthrown ball that Jordan Poyer, who continues to shine in these no pads practices, did so again this week. It's interesting, though, over the course of the 3 weeks. I put out a story at nyup.com/Buffalo-Bills that, the winners and the losers from this week. And I think it's easy to, see that headline and be kind of roll your eyes a little bit. I think it's more so than winners and losers per se. It's more so, who kind of, as we move through this process, looking ahead to next week, do we view things differently for some players than we do for others? Take, for instance, Tyler Kroft is a perfect example. A broken foot. At this stage of the offseason, that's a real, you think of it as just kind of a disappointment as a guy that you were probably penciling in as your number one tight end. He's now out of the conversation. Jason Kroom is banged up. So you look at Tyler Kroft and you think, yeah, you probably mark him as somebody that is not really feeling the situation at this point in time. But on the other side, the flip side, if you're the Bills, it's a positive, because you're going to look at two rookies in Tommy Sweeney and Dawson Knox, who are going to get a lot more reps, a lot more time now that, those guys haven't been in there. And Dawson Knox, he's a guy that's looked really good at times. Had a penalty and offsides today, and some of the coaches let him know about it when he came off the field. But for the most part, a guy that, by all accounts, expert accounts in the draft process, very raw talent. He's looked really good at times, sure-handed. Looks like he's getting comfortable in the offense, learning the offense. And he's got a couple of veteran guys out there, and Lee Smith, Kroft, when he gets back, to lean on. And I think that the Bills could potentially utilize his athleticism, playmaking ability this season. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. But in terms of Allen, a couple injuries of note. Zay Jones wasn't in the practicing today. He was injured. John Brown was not out on the field today, but was not mentioned by Sean McDermott in his pre-practice press conference when he was running through the injuries. So you take two guys that, you're probably looking at as the starters on this team that weren't out there today, and it's a little bit more understandable that Josh Allen struggled a little bit. The continuity really wasn't there. Looking at guys, Ray McLeod was lining up on the outside on a few plays, and that's a guy that you think of more as a slot guy. So, it's what we go back to last week. You don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. I think that, you take a look throughout the roster, so many changes on the offensive line. Mitch Morris was in a red jersey. He expects to participate in minicamp next week, he told reporters today. And I think that, but with him still out of the lineup, things are shaking up a lot. Jeremiah Searles was inserted as the starting center with the first team. John Feliciano swung from center to left guard. Spencer Long from left guard to right guard on the first team. And then you had Deion Dawkins and Cody Ford on the outside. Ty Nsekhe was injured as well. A lot of injuries today, and I posted all of those in my observations from today over at the site. And so the offensive line keeps changing in front of Josh Allen as well. So that's something to consider. On the defensive side of the ball, Ed Oliver was in a red jersey today. He's dealing with some shoulder soreness. Probably not something to be too concerned about. I'd expect him to be back next week. Sean McDermott didn't seem to be very concerned about it. But a guy that, people haven't been talking a whole lot about since Ed Oliver's name got called is Jordan Phillips. It's a guy that first day of practice was with the first team, and again today running with the first and second team at times. I think his value to this team can't be understated. And Anthony, thanks for joining me. Where do you see Jordan Phillips this year? You think he can take some playing time away from star? Not necessarily from star, I don't think so. I think he'll rotate in, and if there are packages where the coaching staff feel that he can play well in that one tech role, I think that he could play some there. But I think he's more of a three technique, and I think you're going to see, because of the way that Sean McDermott likes to shake things up and rotate in his players, especially in the interior defensive line, I think you're going to see Jordan Phillips play probably close to 50 to 60% of the snaps this season. I think that you'll see Ed Oliver as the season progresses and he gets more comfortable, that snap count percentage will rise for him, and you probably see Jordan Phillips snaps go down a little bit. But in limited time last year, I thought that Jordan Phillips had an impact at times, and I think that he can continue to do that this season. And something to remember too is guys talk about their comfort level, as they get used to the system, playing under Sean McDermott, what he likes, Leslie Frazier, what he likes, what he wants to see. And you're looking now at, the core of this defense, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Lorenzo Alexander, Jerry Hughes, Tre'Davious White, guys that have now going into their third season under Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott. The comfort level is only going to climb up for those guys, but that's Jordan Phillips as well. He came in here a few games into the season after obviously the unceremonious release by the Miami Dolphins, and he found a place where he can contribute. He really brought some juice, as Shaq Lawson always likes to talk about, gets everybody pumped up. But now that he understands the system a little bit more, I think his impact could be on the rise this year. Kevin Johnson, new cornerback for the Bills, former first-round pick from the Houston Texans. He was a real star of OTAs. He had a couple interceptions. Sean McDermott actually spoke about him today at the press conference. Very impressed with his focus, his mindset, which is very important to Sean McDermott, and also his ability to make plays, get the football in his hands as a defensive back. And I think that that's something that this defensive coaching staff is looking for in that cornerback 2 spot. Levi Wallace played well last year, but the turnovers weren't necessarily there. Even with Tre'Davious White, who talked about stepping his game up this year, maybe getting a couple more interceptions. That's somebody to watch. Greg Paul is in here. Thanks for joining us. How many games do you see the Bills winning this year? More than 7? That's what Vegas has the number at. And yeah, I think I put out my way too early season rundown, and I had them at 10-6. I think the expectations should be high. You're in the third year of this coaching staff. They've rebuilt this roster in what they envision as being a successful team, and I think now you have Josh Allen coming into his second year. You hope that he got a lot of those rookie mistakes out last season. He's coming in as the guy, so he's going to have the next 4 to 5 months to really get himself comfortable, acclimated. I asked Josh Allen today about Ken Dorsey and that effect. And actually, Tim Graham from The Athletic put out a Q&A with Ken Dorsey, the first interview that he did last week. And I would definitely recommend to go check it out. But a lot of the things that Ken Dorsey talked about with Josh Allen are things that, I think a lot of us believe. He's competitive. He has a high football IQ. He's somebody that wants to win at any cost. Brian Dable talked about that last week. And today I asked Josh, what's your impressions of Ken Dorsey so far? And he said it's great. And he really honed in on what Ken Dorsey brings to the room because of his experience as an NFL quarterback. That's something that I think I discussed last year at times, is that Dave Culley never played the position. Not only never played the position, but he wasn't even an NFL quarterbacks coach anywhere else before he got the gig here. So I think that you bring a guy like Ken Dorsey into the room, who had a lot of success now has had success at the NFL level. He coaching in Carolina with Cam Newton. And I think that immediately brings a dimension to the quarterback room that I think that with Derek Anderson retiring, you kind of input Ken Dorsey and his experience, and I think that continues to help Josh Allen. And I think it's a nice thing too when you have a quarterback that played in the NFL as your quarterback's coach. He's been there, he's done that, he's been through the grind, he's seen what works and what doesn't, and hopefully that will he'll be able to implement some of that stuff to Josh Allen. Let me see, what else do we have here going on that I really took. Ed Oliver, like I mentioned, did not practice much today, wore the red non-contact jersey. That'll be something to monitor next week as we have mini camps. Now, mini camps, guys and gals, 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we will have coverage each day. Each practice is open to the media, so it'll be a lot more coverage. Can you see Trent Murphy become an impact player this year and finally overcome his injuries? And that's from Anthony Ramos. It's actually funny that you mentioned that because Ryan Talbot and I, Ryan's my cohort over at NY Up, we put out a video on YouTube this week, yesterday actually, about some storylines looking into this final week of OTAs, and we talked about Trent Murphy quite a bit. And it's funny. I don't think a lot of people are talking about Trent Murphy, who is healthy right now, and it's easy to be healthy in OTAs. Not for everybody, on this Bills roster, but Trent Murphy's a guy that's kind of got lost in the shuffle. You have Shaq Lawson, a lot of questions around him this offseason because will the Bills or won't they pick up his fifth-year option? They declined it. Shaq's back on a prove-it deal. He's definitely looking for that next contract. And then you have Jerry Hughes, who was extended, and not a lot's been made about Trent Murphy, who underperformed a bit last year, was dealing with a lot of injuries. And I think, to your point, Anthony, I think if he stays healthy, I don't think there's anything that we've seen that tells us that he can't be productive and contribute. And I think that that's something that the Bills need. I don't think they need Trent Murphy to come in here and record 10 sacks. I think that would be nice. I think that would be advantageous. But I think you're going to get an upgrade on the interior pass rush with Ed Oliver. And then I think that, with Jerry Hughes playing next to Ed Oliver and, seeing the kind of contributions that he brings, I think you're going to see an uptick for Hughes, which should take all the pressure off of Shaq Lawson and Trent Murphy. And I think that, this is a big year for Trent Murphy. He needs to produce at a high level. He seems to be engaged. He seems to be refocused. It's tough when you're dealing with these injuries years after year. He missed a whole big chunk of time, so he had to get reacclimated last year. So now it's going to be about monitoring his progress. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the field? If he does, I agree. I think he could have a big impact this year. Kyle Williams was out of practice today. It was nice to see him out there just taking in practice. He was at the Jim Kelly golf tournament yesterday. And Jim Kelly made some news, talking about, having some meetings with Brian Dable and Ken Dorsey and Josh Allen, reviewing some film from the K-Gun days and seeing if there's any of that can be shown to Josh Allen in this offense to help them out. And, Josh Allen spoke about it today, and he said, listen, anybody that has Hall of Fame credentials, I'm all ears for. And, he said that, one of the big things is that Jim Kelly has passed along to him is that back in his day, he took everything that the defense gave him and he made plays where he could. And that's something that Josh Allen, really thought was interesting with when Jim Kelly was talking about it. And that's something that he's trying to implement in his own game. So I think that that's very interesting. I don't think that it's necessarily a situation where Jim Kelly is going to be coaching the team, but having these guys around, these, ex-Bills, whether it be Jim Kelly, Fred Jackson, Eric Wood, you really see the reverence in the eyes of these current Buffalo Bills because of the importance that Sean McDermott places on that history and that, family environment. And that's something that they talk about a lot around here. On the wide receiver front, John Brown was nowhere to be found today. He wasn't on the practice field, wasn't mentioned in the injuries. So he wasn't out there. Robert Foster got a lot of more time with the ones, and Ray McLeod, somebody that I'm going to be tracking very heavily this offseason or this throughout mini camps, training camp, preseason, because it's a big summer for him. Former 6th-round pick, if he wants to make this team, he has to make a very, very strong impression. And I think he's going out about it the right way. I spoke to him last week one-on-one for a little bit, and he said, he got injured early on last year and never really materialized. And if you remember back to last year, it seemed like he was developing quite the chemistry with Josh Allen over the course of training camp. And they wanted to build on that in the regular season. He missed a couple games. If you remember, he was benched for the one day, didn't even make the trip. So he was dealing with some things. And I think that jump from college to the pros for a lot of young players, it's a real thing, struggling with that change in scenery and the change in expectation. Now that he understands what he has to do to be successful, I think that you're looking at a guy that could potentially have an impact. I also am keeping an eye on Cam Phillips. But the problem is at the top of that depth chart, when you're talking about Zay Jones, John Brown, Robert Foster, top 3 receivers, then Cole Beasley in the slot, there's not a lot of room and opportunity there for guys to make the team. And then you look at Andre Roberts, who spent time in practice already running with the first team offense on the outside and brings that special teams dynamic. He's going to be the primary kick and punt returner for this team. The roster spots are slim. It's going to be tough to make this team if you're a wide receiver. So definitely going to be fun to watch. Isaiah McKenzie at times last year really flashed his potential. And I think that, there's a good mindset. Chad Hall, the new wide receivers coach, I'll be interested to talk to him about, what he sees. And, a lot of these younger receivers talked about his influence on them last year when Terry Robisky was the main guy in the wide receiver room and Chad Hall was assistant. And I'm very interested to see the kind of jump that some of these guys can take in year 2. We got you covered over at the site right now, guys. We got the winners and losers from OTAs, my week 3 observations. We'll have more content tomorrow morning. I'm going to put this up on YouTube so you can check us, all of our content out there. Me and Ryan Talbot, we wrap on a whole bunch of different topics weekly over on that site. I put some Josh Allen practice footage up on the YouTube page and the Facebook page as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us as always, and give us a follow on Instagram. We're Buffalo Bills on NY Up over on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm at Matt Parrino and at Bills Updates. Send me any questions, any comments, anything Bills related, and I'll always be sure to get back to you guys. As always, thank you for joining me. Keep it locked on the NY Up, Syracuse.com.